Hey, what's going on? And welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour, a podcast where we talk to the most interesting people in the world of pop culture. We're here live at the Montreal Comic-Con Holiday Edition. We're just wrapping up. It was a great, successful edition. We figured when you're talking about holidays, Ryan,
yeah,
and you're talking about fans, and you're talking about Star Wars, nothing touches fandom like the holiday special.
yeah, it's a holiday special that is so synonymously hated in all of Star Wars that it makes you wonder all the hatred that the prequels get. You just slide in a little holiday special.
Oh God, the prequels look like Gone with the Wind, and every amazing
Citizen
Scorsese
Kane.
movie
Yeah.
compared to the holiday edition. And the holiday edition we're talking about, and the holiday movie we're talking about, of course, is Star Wars, the holiday special.
Yeah.
Now, there's never been a proper actual home video release of this.
No.
Ever.
No.
Ever.
Because
You can't get it.
George Lucas wants you to CGI it out of existence.
It's not going to happen.
No, you can't. No matter how much you make Jabba the Hutt move around, you can't undo the holiday special.
No, there's no way. And the best thing about this is that someone decided to make a documentary on the holiday special.
Yep.
We got a chance to talk to Jeremy Coon.
Yep.
During Fantasia, it had one screening. We caught it.
Yeah. Well, you caught it. You caught it.
Oh, you didn't come with me?
No, I caught it cold. No,
Oh, right.
I'm even kidding. I couldn't be there.
You caught COVID.
But you got it. You got to see it, and it was incredible that I'm so jelly. I finally get to see it, actually. But what I did was edit your interview, and the interview's great. I mean, we want to... Should we just skip right to it so they can see it?
Well, before we go too far, we have to thank our sponsors, Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. I don't have a bottle of hot sauce right now because I used it when I brought my lunch.
It's in here right now.
It's in here.
Yeah.
But you have to check out Heartbeat Hot Sauce. If you use our promo code Rockman20 right below, you'll get 20% off your entire order. And thanks to our friends at Studio House Designs.
Speaking of Star Wars, when this happened, once upon a time, you can check it out on the Montreal Comic-Con page, you interviewed from fanboys. So during an interview that Rockman was doing with Dan Vogler, the PA system constantly kept going.
Yeah, like now.
Yeah, right now. So it's still Star Wars in our hearts right now.
It is very Star Warsy.
Yeah,
so thank you to Studio House Designs, who help us always look fresh, although they're not making us look fresh today because we don't have any Studio House Designs on, but we do love them. Check out all their drops. They just had a major sale that happened over Black Friday, so there's still some stuff up on their website. We absolutely love them, so thank them for outfitting us. And we've got some exciting news next year that we're going to be sharing.
Very exciting
news. But we can't share it right now. No. But Jeremy Coon, the awesome director of A Disturbance in the Force, the documentary on the making and the incredible pop culture faux pas train wreck that is the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yep.
Great insight on here. If you're a Star Wars fan, this is something you need to watch. Check it out, our chat with Jeremy Coon. So first off, thanks for taking the time to on a Sunday morning.
Of course. I was at a demolition derby late last night. So
really?
Yeah.
Okay. Where are you demolition derby? I like that. Was it in?
I live in Utah, but yeah, they have it every year. So we've gone for the last like 15 years. It's not something I do regularly, but it's a fun tradition. I'm not in it. I just watch it.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of fun. And what was a lot of fun was the movie I saw yesterday that you directed. I got to tell you, man, being a lifelong Star Wars fan, I was right in that sweet spot when I saw the first Star Wars in the theaters. I'm 52. So for me, it was, I very, very like faint memories of seeing it the first time, but I did see it. And then of course, Empire and Jedi, clear. And it just set me off on that path. But Holiday Special was something that us Star Wars fans knew existed. It really started up in the 90s, like the early 90s when those Power of the Force figures came out. Those awful figures that were like over musculated but that's really what I remember. I can pinpoint exactly when Star Wars mania started, was in that that 90s time when those figures came out, and that's when everyone started just to start talking about Star Wars, and it came back into the the popular the popular thoughts and just pop culture again. And that's when people started saying, Holiday Special. And I remember getting my first VHS copy of it. And watching it and thinking, this is great, but this is horrible. And the fact that you did a documentary on this, I think is brilliant. And it was when I got my Fantasia guide, I was like, this is something that it's like a must see for me. So congrats on doing that, because that was something that I think a lot of fans needed to get a little more info on.
Yeah. I mean, the reason we set out, I mean, I wasn't introduced to the holiday special till like, I was probably late. It was like 2002. I got a bootleg DVD.
Yeah.
And I think I made it 20 minutes in and just like, I can't take anymore. But it always just been this constant joke with people. But I'm like, there had to be a reason why it happened. And I knew it was a documentary that like, I was amazed that it had never been done before. And that's part of the reason. It's just like, well, I want these answers. So at least we're going to go investigate and see if we can find out how it all happened.
Yeah. And it's great. I mean, and the fact that you give so much backstory to it. I got out of the theater and I talked to a bunch of obviously like-minded Star Wars fans who were waiting for this. And we all said the same thing. Like, I had no idea. And, someone explained it to me, like just the budget for the holiday special compared to what the budget was for the first Star Wars film it's crazy when you look at.
Yeah, it was like it was $1 million for the holiday special. Star Wars ended up being like 11 or 13 or something. It was like, it went over budget, but there's a huge difference between TV and film.
Oh yeah, but just when you think of how much money that they actually that was allotted to this thing back then, TV was still so important, and the amount of eyeballs that must have been watching this that one time it aired, the fact that it still stayed in everybody's consciousness somehow, that faint thing. Do you remember seeing that? And just all the interviews that you did, with Kevin and with Weird Al. And it's just great to see that this is something that has existed in so many people's minds, but people wanted answers. So when you were actually going and looking for these answers, did you get a lot of doors slammed in your face, or was it were people pretty open to talk about it?
The only people that aren't terribly open to it are the people who were in it, that are like stars. So like, but like like the Seth Green, like he was like, what do you need? Like, I'll talk about whatever you want. Like, he was like the next best thing to interviewing Lucas, because he like knows George.
Yeah.
But yeah, most people were just like, it was almost like a cause. They're like, I'm so supportive of you doing this. What can I do to help? Like Adam Goldberg's our EP, and like he's been a huge support. It's just, yeah, especially from the fan community, it's just nice having. Everything's been positive. I keep waiting for like toxic fandom or something to kind of reach in, and it has not happened. Like fans, everyone across the board has been totally supportive and really positive, which has been nice.
And when you think of stuff that exists outside of Star Wars canon, like a movie like Fanboys, to me, that is a movie that I think every Star Wars fan needs to see. But a lot of the time, it just kind of gets left off to the wayside. And I feel like the holiday special, even though it works so closely with George at one point, for that brief amount of time, it still really tries to get pushed away. And it's nice to see someone shine a light on this, because there's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of, and just the way some of these decisions were made, the way you explain how, where television was at that point and some of the reasons why some of these people were cast, just brilliant. When you were researching and looking through all this, the footage and trying to find interviews that were based on this, there must have been so much research that went into this. And I imagine every time you would uncover something like an old interview with an old star that had passed already, it must have been like striking gold for you.
Yeah, it's just, there's no real like way to go about it. You just start digging and digging and digging, and you find stuff. Like we actually have a newer cut. So what you saw is in the final cut, because we've done more research since then. Okay. But I found stuff where, like, we found the Genesis like 2 years for the holiday special. There's a transcript of George talking with Alan Dean Foster. We're basically giving the storyline of the holiday special 2 years before it came out as a possible sequel. So there's stuff like that where it's like it had been gestating for a long time,
right?
Well before it was on TV. We don't get in this because I don't necessarily want to badmouth someone, but like there's this big Tascam Star Wars book talking about the holiday special, and the 5-page treatment. George says he didn't write it, and then attributes it to Lenny Rips, and Lenny Rips is like, I had nothing to do with that. So even within the Star Wars, sanctioned stuff, they're not getting things right.
Really? And do you think some of that is people wanting to just kind of pass the buck, or do you think it's just after time they just don't remember because so much has gone on?
It's been 45 years. I think people just forget.
Yeah.
The thing that was most surprising me of making this movie is I have way more empathy for George Lucas than I expected to going into this. Because I'm kind of like, the dude's 33, makes the biggest movie of all time. The holiday special was not a priority for him.
course.
It was just the way, yeah. So it's kind of like, I mean, the only thing I can fault him for, I think he should probably embrace it more and have it be more of a joke as opposed to, you know, uh, although if he did that, it probably would make it less fun because it's kind of fun that it's the thorn in Lucasfilm's side is what makes it so popular.
Well,
So it's
yeah,
kind of a double-edged sword.
and it's amazing when you get, especially Star Wars fans my age that just shit all over, the prequels, and they're like, "Oh, these are the worst things ever." I'm like, "Oh yeah, wait a minute, hold my beer. Let me
Yeah.
show you the holiday special." So, but what's great about it is there were some great things that came out of that, like Boba Fett. And when when you talk about all the nods over time in pop culture to the holiday special, I think one of the most important ones that made its way into Star Wars canon was the weapon that Boba Fett is it's brought up again in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That just shows you how tied Star Wars fans are to anything Star Wars, no matter whether it's good or bad.
Well, and that whole generation is now making new Star Wars content, like Jon Favreau and stuff. So that's what makes it so cool. We kind of talked about a little bit where it's just, yeah, fans are now people making it and they want to drop little references here and there. I mean, there's stuff in Andor that's super subtle where they have is it the bantha, like the stuffed bantha with heads ripped off? Is it just sitting in the bedroom in Andor? Like stuff like that where it's pretty, like, if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to see it, but the people who see it love it.
And there's something to be said about, with pop culture being where it's at now, and with all of us fans being the ones who are doing the creating now. We're no longer these people that have to hide in the basement and run away from the jocks to get beat up. Like we kind of run everything now, which is great. Yeah. It's funny how fan service has become so popular in films. Even though The Flash wasn't that successful, there was so much fan service in that film that fans just gobbled up, and that love, like bring Keaton back, having Nicolas Cage finally be Superman in a movie. So to see fan service being done towards the holiday special is just great. But what really surprised me, and I had no idea, they've actually made products for mass consumption based on stuff from the holiday special. So that's what kind of threw me for a loop when I saw, the Life Day stuff that was for sale. That's kind of like a direct, like, why would they have this if they're trying to bury this? So do you know what I mean? When you were showing like Chewbacca and the gown.
It's all about making money. So, but I mean, I don't know if you saw just last week, we're putting this, I've locked picture and this is the last thing I'm putting in actually after I talked to you. I'm laying in a shot of this, but at Comic-Con last week, Hasbro announced a Life Day Chewbacca. So he's had a Life Day or like authorized action figure, which is insane to me. It's fully embraced, but it's still kind of this like, we're going to take Life Day, but ignore the special is kind of the approach.
Right. But how do you ignore the special when it's the place that the Life Day, so it's crazy how, they'll accept what they want to accept. But, and, I was talking with someone after about how if Disney Plus was to put this on, there's no way, even if they did put the holiday special up, there's no way they would put that scene up with the virtual, with the Grandpa Chewbacca.
Diane Carroll.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just so funny to watch it now. And I think it's innocent, it's fairly innocent from when it was made, but I know, right? But there's no way that Disney would have that on their platform. I don't think. I mean, and I think that was something that would be omitted. I can't see that passing through. What do you think?
Disney has plenty of stuff. I don't think it's a content issue. It's more to me the holiday special. I'm not a fan of the holiday special necessarily. Like sitting down, I've had to watch it maybe 6 times beginning to end, and every time it is a slog. So I'm kind of like the holiday special in a vacuum isn't very enjoyable, but the context of where it came from I find fascinating, and like people's reactions to it. And I mean, I kind of attribute it to it's like looking at Lucasfilm's like junior high yearbook. Like no one's cool in junior high. Everyone's embarrassed in retrospect, but at the same time, it's kind of awesome to go look at it and see how things have changed. So, I mean, I think that's the way it should be kind of treated, where it's a piece of history, but we know that it was an awkward time and that's just what it was, but that's what makes it kind of cool.
So for you as a filmmaker, now that this is done, you mentioned that you're locking everything. It's done, final. Yeah. Where do you go from here? What's your next project? What have you been working on? Because I imagine when did this idea start to today, where you're locking everything? Like how much time passed between that?
This was a long time. This has been about 4 years, but we started like June 2019, and then COVID screwed like everything up. I mean, we have interviews outside because we were shooting during the windows where we could get people to do interviews.
Sure.
No, but like one thing, I'm producing this one. I mainly produce. I only direct things that I'm like I'm just like, I have to do this because no one else is. But we've been working on this one for about 3 years, but it's a documentary project on the comedian Gallagher, which is not what you expect it to be. So our director's been following him for like 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So it's a fun look, but there's more depth to it than you would expect. So there's that, and then we're doing a project on Bob Uecker, so it's on the sports
Nice.
announcer for the Brewers.
Yeah, of course.
So I mean, a lot of this stuff is just like, it's things that I don't know. I was born out of the '80s, so I seem to kind of drive towards things that are around the '80s because that's what I grew up watching. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm interested to, is more like pop culture type things. But
Sure.
like our company's always looking for new projects and new things pop up. But the Gallagher one's probably the one that's next on deck that we're hoping to get out later, at least do the festival circuit later this year.
And do you have is there a plan for Disturbance in the Force in terms of where it's going to be airing after? I mean, is there a distribution plan for it, or is there a platform that's grabbing it?
We're talking to a couple of people. We're trying to figure out the plans. It's been with the strike and everything, it's surprisingly been like a weird time in the industry. So like we're having conversations that are starting to kind of turn out. But I mean, there's actually a lot of interest in a theatrical release, which I was surprised and happy about. In a perfect world, the goal is to have it come out in some form November 17th, which is the 45th anniversary of like Life Day and the special. So
yeah,
we definitely want to do some kind of release around that. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but later this year is the plan to have it out so people, like the masses, can see it. But we still have a couple of festival runs we're doing out. We're going to play Sitges in Spain is going to be our European premiere, and we have about 3 or 4 other festivals before November that we're going to play.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, being in the audience at Fantasia, it was people were eating it up, and it showed really well. It was great, and I think it's an important part of pop culture, especially for Star Wars fans. So I commend you on doing this, and it was so informative. I recommend anyone that's a Star Wars fan to watch this, because it really, being someone who thought he knew a lot, there was a lot of things I didn't know. And it's a great snapshot into 70s television culture, which, being a latchkey kid and being in front of a TV a lot when I was young, I remember all of those horrible variety shows that I had to sit through. And I mean, none of it made sense.
I tried to get Pink Lady and Jeff in, but it took too long to get. Did you ever watch that as a kid?
Yeah,
that's one of the worst. But yeah, the other thing that surprised me about this too is, like, I thought it was just be for like hardcore Star Wars fans. We've actually kind of crossed over where people who aren't that big of Star Wars fans love just kind of time capsule, just revisiting the 70s TV, because it's people forget how bad it was.
Oh yeah, it was just horrendous. And the fact that, and you have footage from that Donnie Marie special. I mean, that too is just like a feather in your cap, because that's not easy to find either.
That is from Donnie's personal master that he had transferred for us. So that's as good as that's ever going to look.
Well, thanks for taking the time. Enjoy your Sunday, and continued success. And I can't wait to see where this lands, and when people get to watch it in the masses. It's going to be fun.
All right, awesome, man. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
And that was our interview. And now no longer, being interrupted by PA systems and whatnot. Yes. But you know what was interrupted? The winning streak that Star Wars was having with this holiday special, because I think Empire Strikes Back was purposely done even better and even darker to apologize for the holiday special in a way.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, man, one of the things that I love about this is the fact that we waited, because when we originally did this interview, we really, really wanted to get it out there, but we sat on it, and it was Ryan's idea, because, this is going to come out around Christmas time.
Yeah.
And now the movie is available.
Yeah.
It's definitely something you need to check out. Star Wars fans, A Disturbance in the Force.
Yep.
Watch it.
It's going to be available on Blu-ray and digital on December 5th, which is right around now.
Yep.
And it's, what's fascinating is that back in the day, before they were ready to release Star Wars action figures, they kind of sold a proof of purchase, and that's what kids open up on Christmas morning.
Right.
You have Star Wars toys. Eventually. So what we did, and what we wanted to release this interview with, we're giving it to you when it's released. So when you get intrigued to watch this film, you can actually go watch it.
And another thing, our next episode is going to be our holiday special.
Yes.
We're going to have a bunch of guests, kind of like what we did around Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about Christmassy stuff.
Yeah.
And we are going to be giving you a chance to win that incredible box set from our friends over at Paramount Home Video, the Picard Legacy box set. Everything with Jean-Luc Picard that ever was recorded is going to be available in that box set, and you can win it right here on the Rockman Power Hour. So thank you to all of you for joining us for this very, very awkward edition during the teardown of the Montreal Comic-Con Holiday Edition,
Yep.
to talk about the interview with Jeremy Coon, the director of the holiday special,
Yep.
Disturbance of the Force.
Yep.
Thank you to my co-host, Ryan Stick.
Thank you to our producer, Julia Kadursky, and of course to the mighty Jason Rockman, who we never get to thank because you're too busy thanking everyone else.
Yeah.
But it's Christmas time.
Oh, thank you.
It's Christmas time, Ebenezer.
We're going to talk about the Christmas sweater Ryan gave me last time and the sexy photo that I sent his wife.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you to our guest camera person, Melissa Gallianos, who's behind the camera right now. And thanks to all of you for joining us.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time on the Rockman Power Hour. Hey, thanks so much for supporting the Rockman Power Hour. We're almost 2 years strong, and we absolutely couldn't do this without your support. So make sure you click on one of these links to find our entire playlist of episodes. And if you haven't subscribed yet, right over there, hit it, and you won't miss anything.